So, of course I'm late to this party, but in case you haven't heard the news already, Robert Kirkman was answering AMAs on Twitter, and he disclosed that we will be receiving Clementine news by the end of this year, which jaw-dropping, like, oh my god. And he also said that he wouldn't be hyping it up like this if it wasn't something big. So what's confirmed is Clementine news exists, we're just yet to find out what specifically it is, and it's gonna be big. It's not just gonna be like, I don't know, a cameo. It's gonna be something that Robert is fully well aware will make the fans happy. So this is news everyone knows. I can't give any more information because there is none. So I thought I would give my thoughts about this news and try to predict. I don't know. I'm nervous to make predictions because what if they're misinformed and likely wrong? I can't stand the judgment of being wrong. No, I'm joking. But I do want to talk about my personal opinions on what's happening. So I'll get the biggest one out the way first. I hope it's not a game. I doubt it's going to be a game, and I'm praying it's not a game, basically. I feel like the final season was a perfect conclusion to Clementine's story, and I'm terrified that if the fans push them to make another game, it will ruin that. Another reason I wouldn't like a game that continues her story is because where it left off, the only way they'd be able to continue it is if they distance themselves from the Erickson kids storyline because of the choices at the end being too varied. Because every player has a different person alive, whether Lewis dies, Violet dies, they both live and 10 dies. So in order to continue the game, they'd have to create an entire new setting and scenario, I think. So that's another reason I wouldn't want a game. So if they do a game, I hope it's an expansion on the story as we know it and not continuation from the final season, because it's the final season for a reason. So this leads us to what other media it could be. And I don't know why, but I have a really, really heavy suspicion that it's a comic. I would love for it to be a comic. I did sort of think about whether it was going to be a novel, like a full-on book, and I think that's possible. Nothing is out of the realm of possibility. But given Robert Kirkman's history, I doubt it will be a book, but I fully anticipate a comic book. Life is Strange did it. They created comic books surrounding the choices if you chose to save Chloe. I have the first issue and I loved it. It was a great little addition to the Life is Strange universe. I loved it. And if we were to be given something like that for Clementine, maybe a comic book surrounding Erickson adventures, I would love that. I honestly would. I would be more than happy with a comic book. I did see a lot of people discussing whether or not it would be a TV show. There was a lot of talk about whether it would be a live action TV show or an animated TV show. And given the fact that The Last of Us is currently in the process of making a TV show with HBO and the cast has already been revealed, I think. Did that happen? Yes, it has already. I googled it just to make sure, just to fact check, and yes. That makes it not unlikely that there is a possibility of a TV show. However, I'm not too sure. I don't think they would go down that route. I think it would be a lot of hassle to please people with the casting, and if it came to a TV show, I would have a lot of fear because usually TV show adaptations aren't necessarily successful. An animated TV show, however, I wouldn't mind. I mean, Robert Kirkman has already had one of his comics, Invincible, recently turned into an animated series. A lot of the AMA questions were about Invincible. It looked good, it looked amazing quality, so I wouldn't necessarily deem it impossible that there's something like that could exist for The Walking Dead. I think I would prefer a comic over a TV show, but neither of them are out of the realms of possibility. I did also have a thought that if it's a game, it might necessarily not be a PC/console game. I had a little bit of a nightmarish thought that they would attempt to release some kind of mobile game. I hope that's not the case, but I would just like to bring to the attention that mobile game isn't necessarily out of the question. It's just anything's a possibility. I'm just discussing ideas here. Anything's a possibility. I would like to say that maybe he's hinting at merchandise, because not a lot of The Walking Dead merch exists, but I have a feeling merchandise would be too small of a thing to hype up like this. I also saw people discussing whether or not it would be a crossover. Like, do you know how they do crossovers within games, and that Clementine might make an appearance in some form in a different game? I don't want that. That's probably the last thing I would want. If we're gonna get Clementine content, I would want it to be exclusively Clementine content that I wouldn't have to see through a different source. I think most likely, my prediction is that we are going to get comics. Whether it's one comic or like a couple of issues, I reckon we're going to get comics because that's what Robert Kirkman knows, that's what he's good at, and it's also something that would please the fans without necessarily destroying a story they've already built. It gives them freedom to experiment. So yeah, I think, honest to God, I think we're going to get some Clementine comics. I am all for that. What do you think? I know that quite a few newly subscribed people to my channel have come from my The Walking Dead iceberg. What do you think? What do you think we're getting? This news concerns everyone. I want to know everyone's theories. Also, at some point, I will be releasing my ranking of The Walking Dead characters. It's currently in my editing process. The recording was over an hour long, so I reckon you guys are going to get a good half-an-hour video of me talking about my opinions on The Walking Dead characters. So look forward to that. Sorry. Make sure you have a nice day, stay hydrated, and eat something, please.